Hi everyone, in this session we will discuss about exceptions. Okay, exceptions and system call. Of course, system calls we have discussed in the earlier classes, and you might have known or you might have seen the system calls in Unix Unix subject. So now for this, now we will discuss about exceptions. So what are exceptions? Exceptions are nothing but they are simply the error conditions. Exceptions are nothing but they are error conditions. Okay. Suppose if any exception occurs, then simply a signal is generated. A signal is generated to notify that an error has occurred or an error condition has arisen or occurred. Okay. Some of the examples of exceptions are divide by 0. If you write anything, suppose if you write anything divided by 0, like 4 by 0 is, so we can't define this. 4 by 1 is 4, 4 by 4 is 1, that's okay. But 4 by 0 or anything by 0, anything by 0 is undefined. Okay, so that's why if we write anything like this, anything divided by 0, so it rises an exception. Okay, it's nothing but it's an error condition. Okay, there is another example, that is nothing but device not available. For example, if you don't have printer to your system, still if you give print option, or if you try to print some documents, then there's a chance that the exception arises because you don't have the printer device to your system, but you are trying to give print. Okay, you are trying to print some documents, so the exception arises. One more thing is a page fault. You know what is a page fault? What is a page fault? What is a page fault? Suppose in the main memory, okay, let us suppose if there are 3 frames, let us suppose we have 4, 5, 6, let us suppose if CPU wants 8, this 8 is not available inside the main memory. Okay, means a miss has taken place, or we can say that a page fault has occurred. A page fault has occurred. What is a page fault? Suppose if CPU wants to grab something, or CPU wants to fetch something from the main memory, if that data what the CPU wants to fetch, if that data is not available inside the main memory, we call it as miss, or we call it as page fault. Okay, if the data which the CPU is searching for, if the data is available inside the main memory, we call it as hit. Okay, so the performance of a system is depending upon hit ratio. What is hit ratio? Hit ratio is nothing but number of hits by number of hits plus number of miss. Okay, so here if a page fault occurs, so whatever the data the CPU wants, if the data is not available inside the main memory, then the page fault occurs. So at that situation also the exception is arised. Okay, this is another example where the exception arises. Okay, so here there are 3 steps for handling the exception. First, what you are supposed to do is we have to save the contents of register. You know what is a register? Okay, inside the computer we will have some registers, right? Okay, the contents of the register are to be saved. Next, we have to handle the exceptions by using C function. The contents of the register are to be saved by using the assembly language. You know what is assembly language? Assembly language is a language which is written by using mnemonics. Mnemonic is nothing but move, load, store. Okay, so these are some of the commands which we use for writing the mnemonic code or assembly language code. Next, we will after saving the contents of the register, next what we do is we will handle the exception by using C function. Last but not least, what we do is we will exit. Okay, we will exit from the exception handler, right? So these are 3 steps what we follow for avoiding for handling the exception, right? With this we will wind up the exception topic. Thank you.